I'm telling him behind the list, this is real. No. That's a scam.
Is crypto lending a scam? Let's talk about it in today's video. What's going on, everybody? It is your boy, Crypto Bobby. I hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you are watching or listening in from. And today, yes, let's talk about whether or not crypto lending is a scam, because the crypto Twitter universe yesterday got whipped up into an absolute tizzy about BlockFi and their announcement of the BlockFi interest account, or BIA, which apparently allows for an individual to invest their Bitcoin or Ethereum into said BlockFi interest account and earn around 6% annually. And this brought a lot of applause, and this also brought a lot of accusations and all types of crazy things. So I think we need to sit down, look at both sides of the situation here, kind of explain things at a high level. Is it a scam? Is it not a scam? Is it good? Is it bad? Should you use it? We'll break into it all in the video today. So the announcement of BlockFi's interest program came out yesterday. Pomp is an investor in it and tweeted about it, and it got a ton of traction that way, but it was also in basically every crypto-related or crypto news-related industry publication, CoinDesk, The Block, all over the place. And here's the article from CoinDesk where it's talking about it, the fact that customers were essentially, this is live for customers, and it can offer them about 6% interest. So if we pop over here, BlockFi.com, I have no relation with BlockFi. I know a few people that work there, but I have no relation with BlockFi at all. And so here's the deal. So if you go to the products, you can see they now have what is essentially, they're calling it an interest account. And what they say is the BlockFi interest account lets you put your crypto to work and earn monthly interest payments in the asset type that you deposit with BlockFi. So if you deposit Bitcoin, you receive interest payments on a monthly basis in Bitcoin. If you deposit Ether, you receive Ether on a monthly basis. Now, the area where people started to freak out in regards to this interest account is this number right here, the 6.2% annually. But if you look down, so you can see here, 6% annual interest compounded monthly. So they pay on a monthly basis. If you continue to invest and invest over time, if you just let that money roll, then that 6% annual interest compounds actually into about 6.2%. And rates are subject to change. Now, when people look at this, they're freaking out, they're going nuts. And I think it's important when you look at anything like this, you look at the terms of service. Straight up, you go to the terms of service. And here is the area in which I think you need to pay attention to if you are considering this. And we'll get into who should consider this and who shouldn't, because I think there are some people that would likely have some benefits of considering a service like this. And we'll also get into the alternatives or the competitors in the space as well, because BlockFi is certainly not the only one doing this. And there are other alternatives, which I do think personally, the more alternatives, the more competition, the more that benefits customers. But when we look at the risk disclosure, specifically in regards to the crypto interest account, you can see here that this is not a checking or savings account. It is not covered by insurance against losses, and that they will actually be lending, selling, pledging, potentially rehypothecating, assigning, investing, using, commingling, or otherwise disposing your funds in crypto assets to counterparties, and they'll basically be using their best efforts to prevent losses. So this is not a risk-free interest account where it's like your bank and you are FDIC insured. And if the bank goes under, then you have essentially insurance up to a specific amount. This is not an FDIC insured account, so that if in fact they do go out and they do lend or participate in some type of investment or whatever it might be, and it does go wrong, you could be liable, or your assets could essentially go poof and they could be gone. Now, the important thing to note here is, what does BlockFi actually do with the account assets that you have? As you saw before, they basically, within the terms of conditions, they say they can do, hey, whatever we want to do with them. But when you look at that, BlockFi typically generates interest on assets, and we've talked about these types of programs before, where they provide the ability to take out loans. So there are numerous people that take out loans from BlockFi and pay interest, typically over 6%. So when somebody does that, that is primarily the source of where BlockFi generates this interest. They generate interest by lending crypto and lending cash to institutional and to corporate borrowers, typically a rate over 6%, which is how they can actually afford to pay that rate to you. And they lend that crypto, or they allow for that lending in an over collateralized fashion, similar to a make or die CDP or to a number of the other lending programs out there. Now, I think the first question a lot of people have, or the first reaction that a lot of people have about this is this a scam, or that's a scam? Carlos Matos voice. And no, it's not a scam. It's not. That is in my opinion, that's a ridiculous accusation, and it's not a scam. This is a company that you can go to the MLS on Consumer Access. You can see the information. You can see their public address. You can call them. You can email them. You can see their board of directors. You can see the states and licenses and the registrations that they have in the United States. When people compare this stuff to BitConnect, there was no BitConnect phone number. There was no address. There was no nothing. There was no KYC. There was absolutely nothing. So when you compare something like this to BitConnect, it kind of reduces, in my opinion, the actual concerns and the actual negative or potential drawbacks about this. So I think at a very high level, before we even dive into all the rest of it, you have to stop with the bullshit BitConnect comparisons, because this is not BitConnect. This is a company that is authorized to do business in the United States in a variety of states. This is a company that is registered. And this is not when you compare it to a BitConnect, you actually do take away from the fact that, yes, there are risks with this, and there are serious risks with this as well. So shout out to Jake Travinsky. I probably butchered the pronunciation of his last name, as I always butcher everybody's name on the show. But I've talked about his Twitter before. He's a lawyer based in the U.S., and he's typically had some good commentary. And CoinGape.com, which needs a serious rebranding, because I don't know why anybody would name a website CoinGape. But aside from that, they wrote a little bit of an article about some of the tweets that Ryan Todd, who I believe is an analyst at The Block, put up, as well as Jake. And Jake said, if you think crypto lending platforms enable you to become a risk-free creditor and collect interest on any size loan at several hundred basis points above the target federal funds rate in perpetuity, then I have a bridge to sell you. And yeah, he is correct, in my opinion. There is, numerous parts about this tweet are correct. Number one, if you access or if you utilize a crypto lending platform, you are not a risk-free creditor. There is certainly risk, and as we go back to the terms of service there, this is not a checking or a savings account. It is not covered by insurance against losses. So if something bad happens, then you're not covered. Your money goes poof. And then in addition to that, yes, it is something that is multiple 100 basis points above the target federal funds rate. We're talking about 6% here. That is quite a bit higher than interest rates really across the board. In your own savings account, I'm sure it's probably about 5% above what you might be seeing in your own savings account on numerous other websites, things of that nature. And then also in the fact that this might be in perpetuity. When they say 6% here, interest rates can certainly change as well. Now, as I said before, BlockFi is not the only company out there doing something like this, where they're allowing people to lend their Bitcoin or their Ether or their cryptocurrency and pay some level of interest based upon that. There are a number of websites or companies that are doing that right now. And two things you want to think about as well. So right now there are typically on-chain solutions that are doing this on Ethereum, like Compound Finance, which I talked about in the past. And when I talked about it, a bunch of people said it was a scam, and they said I was defrauding people and a bunch of crazy stuff. Obviously, it's not a scam, but we'll talk about the positives and minuses to both on-chain and then to kind of more centralized companies here as well. So you have companies like you have Compound. Nexo is another one that allows you to earn interest, and you can see here Nexo allows you to earn up to 6.5% interest on your crypto that actually compounds daily. And then you also have Celsius Network, and then you have CDP. There's also Unchained Capital as well. But when you're looking at these kind of crypto native on-chain solutions like a Compound Finance or a Maker CDP in comparison to something like BlockFi that is not necessarily on-chain, there are different risks associated with each of them. Compound finance is and Maker is very transparent as far as where the money is going, where the money is sitting, what the rates are, who might be borrowing, things of that nature. It's extremely transparent. The biggest risk with a compound finance or a Maker DAO and opening up a CDP to do anything with that, the biggest risks there are smart contract risks, where smart contracts are not necessarily the most reliable things on the planet right now. If you look back at the parity hack that happened where somebody accidentally froze the entire multi-sig wallet for parity and held up really hundreds of millions of dollars within that were stuck within parity wallets that have never been able to be released because somebody wrote a call on a smart contract and froze all of the accounts. The same risk certainly applies to compound finance where, hey, maybe the smart contract breaks and your money is stuck there and you can never get it out. Same thing with the CDP from MakerDAO. On the other end of the spectrum, BlockFi, the smart contract risks aren't necessarily there, but what happens if they loan the money out to somebody and there's just bad mismanagement, whatever happens, and the money blows up, your Bitcoin is now gone. You don't have that, you're not enabled to access that, whatever it might be. You don't have insurance. You don't have insurance on compound finance. So there are issues there as well. So hopefully you have some idea of the risks associated with lending your crypto to somebody. Once you lend your crypto, it is not your keys, not your coins. Be it through a smart contract, really. You do still have access, but they're locked in a smart contract. Or if it's with a BlockFi or somebody else like that, it really isn't your crypto anymore, and there is a risk associated with lending your crypto out to people. Now, with that said, 6% interest is pretty damn solid, especially if it's compounding interest over time, and this is on a monthly basis, so it takes your 6% interest to 6.2% interest. This is not 1% daily compounding interest on BitConnect. Let's not go nuts. But compounding interest is nice, and it is a legitimate alternative to rather than holding your Bitcoin, or rather than holding all of your Ethereum or Bitcoin within your ledger. If you want to make some element of a return on that outside of, most likely, I think people are buying Bitcoin and buying Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies because they do think that they are going to appreciate in value. If you do think that they are going to appreciate in value, this is essentially like staking your cryptocurrency in some aspects. You're staking it with a third party who is going to go out and try to generate a higher rate of returns than they will take the delta on that, and that is their business. So I do think that this is something that people should consider if they do want to generate additional returns on their cryptocurrency, but they should also be aware of the risks that we talked about. Now, if you were to do this, I would not recommend, let's say you have 10 Bitcoin, you have 35 Gs in Bitcoin. I would not recommend taking all 10 Bitcoin that you have and providing them to BlockFi or providing them to another crypto lending service to earn that interest, because what happens if something happens? Maybe put a small percentage in, maybe put, 30%, whatever it might be, whatever you feel comfortable with, knowing that if that business goes under and you don't have the insurance, because there is no insurance, then you lose your crypto. Is that a risk you are willing to take for 6%, or would you rather simply leave that in cold storage because, hey, 6% isn't that big of a deal if in the back of my mind I think Bitcoin is going to go to the moon and be $100,000? Is that a big deal for you? Maybe, maybe not, but something to consider in the long run. So in conclusion, is crypto lending a scam? In the case of BlockFi, no, it is not a scam, in my personal opinion. In the case of a lot of these companies, is it a scam? No, it is not, in my personal opinion. Was BitConnect a scam? Fuck yes, it was. But you have to look at these things, number one, on an individual basis. And number two, just because something has risks associated with that does not mean that it is a scam. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and say that there are no risks. I'm not going to say that this is risk-free. There are risks associated with that. Some people are fine with that. You got to risk it to get the biscuit. But some people are not. And in that case, that's fine. But if you're not fine with that risk, if you do not think it is worth your time, don't call it a scam. Because there are, legitimate businesses out there that are providing services to people that actually want access to that service. And it is disingenuous, in my opinion, to call everything a scam that might serve a purpose for some people out there, maybe not for you. So hopefully that was helpful in providing some of the insight around the debate yesterday that happened on crypto Twitter and really all over the crypto landscape around this BlockFi interest account that offers around 6% interest on an annual basis, as well as some of the alternatives, the positives and negatives associated with that, and helps to make a decision if you want to participate in that whatsoever. So really do appreciate the time, everybody. If you are new to the YouTube channel by any chance, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notify bell and hit that like button if you've been here for quite some time. If you're on the podcast, always appreciate all the podcast listeners out there as well. Thank you so much for your time. Crypto Bobby signing out. Hope you have a good one. Peace.